Hey Kim, hi Pat, hi Diana. Could you give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me? Hey Pam from Virginia. I've been having some issues this morning, so if you could let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Oh, good. Okay, so you can hear me. Okay, great. I almost had to postpone this because I was having some weird issues with my computer, but I think we've got it figured out. Hopefully, if it dies in the middle of this, then we'll redo it again, hopefully tomorrow. Hi, Paula. Thank you from Tucson. Hi, Sandra from Chattanooga. Great to see everybody. Pat from Kentucky. It's somebody local from Stores. I have a niece at UConn. Hi from Florida. I bet it's warmer in Florida and Texas, Joe, than it is in Connecticut. How's everybody doing? Happy Valentine's Day week. Um, okay, so we'll give people a minute. Hi, Uta. Oh, good. I'm glad that you, Uta, I'm glad you got your table ordered. Actually, I'm going to be showing that today, hopefully, if all of my cameras behave and everything works perfectly fine. Um, we're in good shape. I guess, well, it's only 12:01 here, so we'll give everybody a minute. Everybody doing well? Everybody good? Anyone have any questions at all while we're waiting? Hi, Elaine from the UK. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So, well, I guess we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping while we're waiting for everybody to roll in. Um, Again, I always like to say I am a proud Bernina ambassador and I do not receive any commissions or anything else on sales. However, if you are thinking about making a purchase of a Bernina or Burnett machine or software, any purchase like that over $1,000, prior to making that purchase, contact me and I will send you an ambassador appreciation coupon. This is for the US only, unfortunately. It doesn't go globally. And that is a $100 thank you from Bernina for making the purchase and for watching me. And hi, Sharon from Arizona. Nice to see you. Patricia from Adirondacks. Oh, it's so pretty up there. Hi, Brenda. Um, so that's $100 rebate. It is a cash rebate. It takes like 6 to 8 weeks, I think, for them to process it, but it will save you $100, and it's their way of saying thank you for patronizing them and for patronizing me as well. So that's always fun. So we have a few different things. I know I've always been negligent about posting my upcoming in-person event schedule. So we're going to try to start doing that more faithfully from now on. However, in the meantime, just to let you know, depending on where you are, I'm going to give you a list of a few upcoming events. From March 20th and 21st, I will be at Pine Needles Quilting in Rochester, Minnesota. That's an event that we're doing out there. In early April, April 4th and 5th, I will be at Bernina World of Sewing in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've done a couple of their programs in Raleigh, so Wilmington will be kind of nice, and I understand they have a big expanded store there, so I'm kind of excited to see that. And their classroom, it's supposed to be phenomenal. In April 11th and 12th, I will be at Aurora Sewing in New York, up near Buffalo. And that is a big Bernina event. That is with, there are 4 educators. They'll be doing embroidery, um, quilting. They're going to be showing the beautiful, incredible new 990 sewing machine. What else are we doing? Let's see, Serging, of course. And in May 1st and 2nd, I will be at Sew With Me in St. Paul, Minnesota. And then going into June, I'll be at Quilter's Quest in Downers Grove, Illinois. And that's June 13th and 14th. So that brings us right up into the warm weather, hopefully. So those are a few of my upcoming events, and we will get those posted on my website if you haven't written them down or anything. Hi, Emma from Wisconsin. Thanks for joining. And let's see, what else do I want to say? Okay, so this is Valentine's Day week, and Valentine's is the 14th on Friday. So what I am doing is a site-wide sale of 10% off, and it starts tomorrow, Wednesday the 12th. It'll go the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. Those are the 3 days. So it's 10% off everything site-wise. And the code is LOVE, LOVE, all in uppercase. So you can get 10% off. So that includes the artist palette packs of wonder-filled 12-way threads, fabulous collections. I have the Bayside Blooms and the paint box, which are the bright and bold colors. The Bayside Blooms pastels, beautiful. Thread fusions. Oh, okay. And here's something. The manufacturer just surprised me last week and sent me a red thread fusion. And he only had enough material to create 4 of them. So if you would love to have a red one, they work exactly the same as the black ones, which I have the regular one right here. Perfectly fine either way, but I thought the red one was kind of fun. There are only literally 4. That was all he had for that, the material for the base. So if you are interested in purchasing one of them, same price as the regular ones, and you can get the 10% off on that. What you need to do is shoot me an email and say, I want the red one, because I don't think there's a way to designate that on my website, because this was just a big surprise. I didn't expect to be able to offer them in a different color. And also, there may be one other color. Let me check on that too. There may be a blue one coming along, but that, again, I don't know how available it is. And this is, when I say a limited edition, I mean like extremely limited. So that red one, it's kind of fun though. I kind of like it. So, but it works exactly the same, and the black one is fine too. So when we run out of the reds, it'll go back to the black. So the site-wide sale is 10% off. Also, that includes the locking forks as well. And those are available in red and blue, as you know. And classes, patterns, all of that stuff. Everything is on sale, 10% off. But just tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. That's the end of it. So anyway, today I wanted to show you how to use your belt loop folder strips in a little bit different way. And I was going to show you how I do my weaving technique with those. And it's a really, really pretty technique. I'm going to show you on, let me get this out of the way. And I'm going to show you on a panel that I did on a pattern. And I'll show you a variation too if you don't want to do all of the weaving, because it does take a little bit of time. It's easy, but it takes time. It does take time. But if you don't want to do all of that weaving, but you want to get a little bit of that effect, I'll show you a variation on that as well. And I wanted to just do a quick review of how to use the belt loop folder. And I am demonstrating this on the Bernina L890. However, if you have a different brand machine with a belt loop folder, they all work exactly the same. And I will be set up for a wide cover stitch. I could use the triple cover stitch with the center needle in, but I'm not using it with it today. And you technically can use it with a narrow cover stitch as well. However, because the needles and stitching are closer together on the narrow cover stitch, you have much less wiggle room for if your stitching is just a tiny bit too far right or too far left. You could miss one of the folds, and I'll talk about that when we go to the machine. And as I said, all of a sudden about 45 minutes ago, my cameras were doing some weird things. So I think I've got everything all set to go, and I can show you all of that on the machine, and then we'll go to the table to look at this. So I just want to grab the pattern piece that I have all set with the weaving just to show you what it looks like. So hang on a second, I'm just going to roll over here and grab it. So let me change cameras. Oops, see, new. Let me just see if this is going to behave correctly. This is what I was talking about. Hey, Teresa from sunny Santa Cruz. It's sunny here too, but it's a lot colder. Okay, so here's my foot camera, and that's okay. My screen, yeah, that one is okay. The one I need though is my table camera. And that is, for some reason, not behaving. I've got a shot, but this is not a live shot. It's just kind of frozen. Let me just see if I can get this squared away here. Hold on. Nope. Wonderful. Okay. Well, all right, so let me go back to me. Okay, I'll just show it up here, but this is not good for the weaving. I can't show you what I wanted to show you. So this is what I wanted to show you on the table camera. Hi, Miriam. So, and those are 4 different strips of fabric. Hi, Joyce. Oh, Joyce, the code to save the 10% is LOVE, all uppercase LOVE. And just shoot me an email saying you want one of the red ones, because as I said, I only have 4. So it's going to go first come, first serve. But let me just see if I can get my table camera going. I don't know why it is frozen, but I'm sorry for this. Let me just see. No. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's all set. All better. Okay, so here we are. Let me bring the camera down. So What I did, and the reason I love this technique is because it is a very cool way of incorporating multiple fabrics all in one panel. These are all fabrics that I used on other panels on this design, and this is something that's going to be coming out soon. And then I use this same fabric to create the belt loop folders that create the dividers between the panels. So I've said multiple times that the only thing I have never made with belt loop folders is belt loops, because I don't wear belts. So if I had a teeny tiny little waist, I guess I would. And they're very pretty, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that, not me. Hi, Nancy. So anyway, that's that. And now that I think we are set on that, let's start by doing a little review on how to use the belt loop folders. And please, since we do have the chat open, don't hesitate to ask any questions. I'll be very happy to answer them. If after the broadcast is done, though, and you have a question that you didn't think of or that I didn't get a chance to answer during this, I do not go back to look at the questions in the chat. Just shoot me an email directly, gail@gailpatrice.com, and I will get back to you with an answer. So let me go to my machine and talk about that. So I am set up for a wide cover stitch, and let me go back to the screen and show you what that looks like. Hi, Kathy. Oh, good. I'm glad that you could join us live. That's great. Okay, so I am set up for a 3-thread wide cover stitch. So what these boxes are across the top are, they are showing, and I think this actually is a frozen screen too, but it doesn't matter because we're showing what we're showing. You're seeing the left needle and the right needle tensions, and then the chain looper as well on the right-hand side in that lavender box. Hi, Francie. Thanks for joining. And then on the lower left on that box, one on top of the other, I have my stitch length at 3.5, which should be fine for this. But let's go down to the foot and see what's going on there. And is this frozen now? Let me just go to the live one. Hang on. No. You know, technology is wonderful when it works, and then when it doesn't, it's annoying. So let me just see. That one's not live either. This one is now. This one is not, which doesn't really matter. I apologize. This is very annoying. I'm going to just try one other thing. Hang on a second. Okay, now we're live. I don't know what this is doing today. Must be like poltergeist or something. Okay, so I have got my fabric cut. Now I am using the 15-30 or /30 belt loop folder, which finishes up at 5/8 of an inch when the fabric is folded and stitched. I'm going to switch this out. And I think you've heard me talk about getting a second cover hem table that you can keep your accessory holder on. And since I have been working on this new pattern, I have even left on the belt loop folder. It's super fast to just switch it out, but I can leave the accessory holder on the extra table, and I don't have to screw that in and fuss around with it. And I will give you the part number for that. Uta, this is what you purchased. So let me just, I'm going to stitch this off. I always like to stitch when I'm turning on my machine and going to use an accessory. I like to stitch off on scrap fabric first to make sure everything looks good. So I'm just going to pull this out. You can see I've done it before on this. And let me just put this under here. I think I might bring my stitch length. I'm going to bring my stitch length up to 3.7, and that's an arbitrary setting depending on what you want. But for this, it's not critical one way or the other. Oh, the door is open. Let's see if I shut that. And I had to take out my knee lift because I don't have room to sit and maneuver without hitting it. So let me just cut that, pull this out. Stitching looks good on both sides. So I think we're ready to roll. All right, so what I like to do is get my extra threads off of here first. Okay, I have 2 turquoise threads, 1 in each needle, and then I have kind of a caramel color in my chain looper, so you'll see the difference. Oh, Teresa, what I'm using the 15/30 belt loop folder, and that's the kind of the medium width one. But whether you use the narrower one that finishes up at 3/8 of an inch or the wide one, which finishes up at about 7/8 of an inch, they all work exactly the same. For this one, I have cut my fabric strip 1.25 inches wide. And it doesn't matter which grain line you cut this on. This is cut on the lengthwise grain on this fabric. But if you had a fun pattern, like a plaid or a stripe, or something else that would be interesting, even on the bias, you could definitely do that as well. It's not critical for the belt loop folder. So yes, they are, Teresa. They are available from Bernina. Yes, you can get that from your dealer. Ask them to order it. And there are the 3 different sizes. There's the narrow that finishes up at 3/8. This one finishes up at 5/8. And the wider one finishes up at 7/8. But they're I'll get the numbers for you just so I don't tell you the wrong one. So I am going to load this in, and I'm going to bring my camera out just a little bit. Let me go to me first so I don't make you seasick on that. I'm going to bring it out just a little bit wider. Let's see if that looks good. I guess I could be a little bit wider on that. Let me bring it out a little more. Or actually, I'll pull it like this just for a second, and then I'll straighten this out. Okay, so, and I'm not gonna, this does pivot out to make it easy to load in, so let me just do that. I've got my presser foot up. I'm putting my fabric in with the right side face up, and I always cut a little point or an arrow to make it easy to feed in, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now I've got this in, and I think this should be in the right position because I was working with this just yesterday and I haven't changed it, but sometimes things get knocked around a little bit. Let me straighten this out for you. And I'm going to bring it in just a smidge more. And I want to lighten this exposure too. It's quite dark. Okay. All right. So right side face up. My needles, I think, should be centered on this. And let me bring that in a little bit more so you can see that too, because that's important. And get a better focus on it. I think that's good. Okay, so let me just start stitching on this. And really, once you get your fabric loaded in and you've got your needle centered correctly, basically the folder does all of the work. You just want to make sure that it stays kind of between, right in the guardrails for this. No, Liz, you asked a good question. Did I stabilize the strip? No, I did not. This is a quilting weight cotton, and it's perfectly stable with this technique. And it is cut on the lengthwise grain. Oh, Teresa said you ordered them, but Bernina's not shipping them yet. Yeah, they are. They are. So ask them again because Bernina is shipping the belt loop folders. That's unless they're back ordered, which I don't think they are. So let me finish stitching this. And so what you're seeing is as the fabric goes through the folder, the raw edges fold together and meet in the middle, and then that caramel color thread is my chain looper thread. So it's catching both edges, and that's why it's important to make sure your needles are centered. And I always do a strip of test fabric before I go on to my real one so that I don't have to keep ripping out stitches. I get everything centered correctly on the test strip, then I put my real fabric in. So let me just finish this up. And as you can see, all I'm doing is letting the fabric go through. I don't really even have to manage the fabric other than make sure it stays right in the belt loop folder, which it pretty much does on its own. Okay, so put this up, pull my threads. Cut my needle threads, pull it out. That pulls the needle threads to the wrong side and locks the stitch. So let me go back to me for just a second. Okay, so here we are. We're all squared away. Now, and you can see that the stitching looks centered on that, so it has caught both edges. Now, let's go back to the table and talk about how to do this. What I have one of those cut and press boards where it's got a cutting mat on one side and it's got a padded side also, which is great for pinning things in. I use it for weaving all the time. Can you use denim, Miriam? Yes, you absolutely can. Yeah, Teresa, definitely ask your dealer. They have been shipping belt loop folders. People have those. And as I said, I can double check, but I do not think they're back ordered, but there has been a big demand for them. People love them. So that may be the glitch, but I can double check on that and find out. So Uta said she already got hers a month ago. Yeah, they're available. So just ask your dealer nicely to double check that, because maybe when you did check it at that point, maybe they were not available. So let me just show you this woven panel again. There we go. Okay, so you can see, and these are the same size strips that I just showed you on the machine. It's the middle one. These are about 5/8 of an inch wide. And there are 4 different colors in here that I used in this whole creation. So again, it's a fun way to incorporate those. So I'm going to put this off to the side and talk about how we do this. Okay, so here is my trusty old cut and press board, and you can see in here, I have had this thing, I bet, a minimum of 20 years. And I was using it one night, and instead of flipping it over and cutting on the side that's meant for cutting, I sliced right into this. So that's what you see underneath this. But we're going to just ignore that. In fact, let me just turn this around so that's not quite so visible and distracting. Okay, so what I have on top of that is a square of woven fusible interfacing, and I have the fusible side face up, the rough side is face up, and I have those just pinned in the four corners just to hold it. And the reason I like to do my weaving on something like this is because I have a grid, and I know then that I've got the strip that's wide enough and long enough for whatever I want. For the panels that I just showed you, I wanted my panel of wovens to be 5 inches wide and 13 inches long, because they're going to finish up at 4.5 inches wide and 12 3/4 inches long. So I think I actually went about 14 inches on the length. So I've run off all of my strips already. I did that the other day, yesterday, I think. And I'm going to move this in so that we can get a little bit better shot. And I think I want to lighten that up a little bit. I think that's good. Okay, so we've got 4 different fabrics, and the way you angle your strips is entirely up to you. If you want to just do them at 90-degree angles, that's perfectly fine. If you want them at 45-degree angles, good too. So there's no right or wrong on that. And how you position the different colors next to each other is also your choice. Let me just find my 4th one that I want to use. Oh, I guess that's my turquoise one that I just did. So that's that one. So I think we're good to go on this. Now this is just a sample one, so we're gonna just pretend that it's the real thing. So I would have my strips longer than I need them for on my finished edge. And what I like to do is, let's do a couple more here. So then I repeat the same way I stitch them. And I'm not using my chain looper as a decorative element for this. I am just using that as a stitching thing. So I'm going to bring this a little bit closer to me. Bring this in and bring it down just a little bit. Here we are. Okay, let me just make sure. Oh, Kathy, thank you. This is a new collection that I got. It is so beautiful. And there are a bunch of other colors too, but these are the ones that I wanted to use in this project. So what I like to do now is when I would keep going wider, obviously, if I needed it to be 5 inches wide, but just for showing you today, this is the way I do it. Then what I like to do is I just put pins in one end of the fabric strips. Let me just show you that too. Right down here. And that's just to stabilize them. There's no fancy reason other than to hold them in place. And you do have to play around with them a little bit as you go weaving, because as you're lifting them, they can move around a little bit. So here are just 5 strips, and then it's just an over and under thing. It's just a basket weave, that's all. If you wanted to do a fancier pattern like over 2, under 1, or whatever, you can do that too. It doesn't matter. I'm not a weaver, so I just stuck with something pretty simple. So over, under, and I would bring those up, bring this over a little bit like that. Then I would take my next one. And by the way, these fabrics are, I think it was called, the collection is called Boho Blooms by Northcutt. A local quilt store happened to have them, and they caught my eye, and I just love them. These colors are so pretty. Okay, so now I'm just going under, over, just the opposite of my previous set. And I will move that in, just move those up together, and continue along. Let's see, my next one, let's do a turquoise. So over, under, over, under. You're getting a very good view of the back of my hand, I know that. And this is how easy it is. Super, super easy. I just like to make sure though that everything is straight, that nothing is going crooked. So I kind of fuss around with those a little bit as I go along. But that's how easy this weaving actually is. Let's do a few more strips. So here, this, and let's get this one in. So this one is under, over, under, over, under. And by having these pins in the first set, the vertical strips, it just makes it easier to manage. It's not 100% necessary, but I find it much faster and easier if those stay put. And so we're just going along, and now you can see how this is skewed a little bit, and that's what I'm talking about, going back and really looking at it to make sure everything is straight and even. And also you want to make sure that everything is butted up tight against each other. Sometimes, actually on some of the panels that I did for that pattern, I could see a couple little spots that had tiny little gaps. And is that critical? No. If they're tiny, it doesn't matter. But if they're really big, what you're going to see is that interfacing on the back. If I were doing something on all dark fabrics, I would use probably a black fusible woven. So I would just continue this all the way down. And then when I have everything arranged and everything's tightened up and nice and straight and even, then I can unpin my interfacing and ever so gently bring it over to the iron and just press everything against the fusible interfacing. And I start on the top, and then when you're going through all these layers of fabric to the fusible interfacing, you're not going to get a super tight fuse on that, but it's like a tacked fuse. It'll hold. Then I flip the interfacing over so the interfacing is face up, and I cover that with a very lightweight press cloth, and then I hold the iron on to really kind of nail those strips in place. But that's how easy this weaving is. As I said, it does take a little bit of time, but I think it's worth it. I think it's really pretty. Would I use that for a huge project? I could grow old doing it. It would take forever. It would be beautiful though. But I like it for smaller panels, reverse appliques. It's really super pretty. You could even, if you were a garment sewer, if you thought about doing that on a cuff of something, or even if you want to go around the hem of something or the perimeter of, say, a placemat, that type of thing, you definitely could use it, and I think it would be gorgeous. Liz, you said if you wanted the chain looper side to show, yes, all you would have to do is reverse it. And in fact, on my Instagram post that went up either late last night or early this morning, that is exactly what we did. We used the thread fusion with the threads in the decorative threads in the chain looper, and then that is the side I use to show for the weaving itself. So excellent question, absolutely. And the chain side is flat, exactly right, yes. And you wouldn't have any kind of a problem with that at all. I'm just looking to see. Well, let me just finish this up, and then we'll go back to that. We'll revisit that idea. Now, if you wanted to do something and you didn't want to spend a while or the amount of time to do a whole strip of weaving, but you wanted just a little bit here or there, let me show you another idea. So I'm gonna take this out from, I'm gonna just undo this. This is just a little practice thing. Are there any other questions about this? It's really, really pretty easy. So Liz, to answer your question, if I wanted to have decorative thread in the chain looper and use that as a design element as part of the weaving, I didn't switch my camera, hang on. I would just flip it over, have the decorative thread showing on that. So let me, oh, I've got one. Hold on, I'll be right back. Hang on. I should have grabbed it before. Okay, so here I'm going to move this aside just to get it out of the camera. I'm just taking the pins out of the corners of the fusible interfacing. And again, this slit is, again, proof of when you're really tired, stop sewing and don't make dumb mistakes like that. But it's still a very usable surface, and I have been using it for many, many years. And that's just a good reminder. So to answer your question, Liz, all right, so here's one that I did, and I used 2 different 12-weight threads, pink and a yellow on this. Let me just see if I can get this in focus. I guess it's better off down here. There's the pink and the yellow, and those were in the chain looper. This I used a triple cover stitch on. Let me bring the camera in so you can see the 3 needle threads. You can see the lines of the stitching, 1, 2, 3. They're a pretty good match for the fabric, so it's a little bit hard to see it. There's that one. Then on this one, I think this one is just so pretty. This is an 8-weight pearl crown rayon and a 12-weight cotton that I used. And this is, again, this is a better example of the triple cover stitch with that center needle in. And it's such a beautiful trim. It is so, so pretty with that in. So that's with thread fusion and the 8-weight thread along with a 12-weight. This one is the 2 12-weights. And you can see this was a practice strip where I was kind of all over the place, and this is what I'm talking about for making sure that your needles are centered. I was way too far over one side. Then I kind of got it straightened out over here. So by doing that on your practice strip first. And don't waste your decorative thread getting your needles centered either. Get them centered with just your serger cone thread. Don't waste your thread, your good thread on that. Get them centered with the less expensive serger cone thread. I know the thread companies wouldn't be happy hearing me say that. And then when you've got your needles all aligned correctly, pop in your decorative thread. So Miriam says, you love that idea. Are we using 3 needles? On the ones that I just showed right now, Miriam, let me move these out of the way. And here's the one that I just showed you right now. Let me go back to that camera. I'm so excited that they're finally working. Yay. This is 2 needles. This was my left chain needle, my right chain needle, nothing in the middle on the one that I just did. And on this side, it's kind of hard. This is a perfect match for the fabric, but there's 1 needle, there's the second needle, the left and right. So this one is 2, this is 3. And you can see the 3 lines of straight stitching. So you can do either one, and the single or the 2 needles will hold very securely, not a problem at all. And as I said, I wasn't using my stitching as a design element for the weaving. I was just strictly doing it to hold the strips together for this. Now, I mentioned that if you wanted to do some weaving, but you don't want to spend hours on end doing the weaving that I just showed. Say you had an interesting background fabric. I'm going to move these aside. Say you had an interesting background fabric, and this is just something that I pulled out of my stash, but it's kind of cool looking. Let me go back to that camera. It's kind of got that Aboriginal look to it. I think it's really cool. And it's really much brighter than this. Let me lower that. It's a very, very bright, beautiful turquoise color. So if you wanted to do some weaving on that, what I would do is I would pin the corners of this fabric. Now, on this one, I'm not using a fusible interfacing because I would want this part to be on the public side of whatever project I'm doing. So I would have to be a little more careful. One workaround on that would be is if you wanted to put some Wonder Tape along the wrong side of your strip, peel off that release paper and then put it down on your fabric. That would hold it in place securely until you get everything stitched on. So that would be a little bit of a workaround. But say you're doing something like that. Let's go back to that camera. And you just wanted a little bit of it to show. I'm going to put a pin in that fabric, in the fabric strip. And I'm going to place them a little farther apart. This is going to look like lattice work. Let me get them a little bit closer than that. Okay, put a pin in this one. Let me just show you that. There are the pins. And again, I'd want to make sure they're nice and straight. Then, where are my other colors? Let's get this one. And now this turquoise one is not going to show as boldly, but it does show. So I'm going to put that down. It's kind of a tone on tone with the other side. And then get one more piece in here like this. Now these are a little bit farther apart, so it would weave much faster. But now the only downside to doing it like this is if you've got this just secured with your Wonder Tape, you would want to go back and stitch it down to this fabric. So I don't know actually how much faster it would really be than the opposite way, but then we could just do a quick over under. But what you're going to be doing with this is you are going to be letting that fabric underneath show through, which is also kind of a pretty effect too. I did do something like this where I had to secure the strips down with stitching on that first panel that I showed you, and I'll show you again. And what I found worked really well was Invisifil thread, which is a 100 weight thread, believe it or not. It's very thin and it almost disappears on the fabric strips themselves. Let's do one more just to give you the idea. Over, under, over, under. And do I talk to myself when I do this? Yes. Okay, so you can see how that looks. It's pretty. And you can see the fabric underneath it right through. So that would be another variation for the weaving technique. Kathy, you're asking, would those be strong enough for a bag handle with stabilizer? Absolutely. In fact, I think if you look at my tip clips, you'll see what I use for stabilizer for tote bag handles and purse handles is on the widest strip. I use the 7/8 inch width for my tote handles. I used a 5/8 inch wide grosgrain ribbon. Grosgrain ribbon is strong as an ox for handles, and we all know we overstuff our tote bags a lot, so they can get really heavy. You regular interfacing, I don't know. I don't think I would trust it to be strong enough, honestly. It might be if you're using something like a canvas, but when it comes to the thickness of fabric, because Miriam asked if you could use denim. You have to remember what the width of the mouth of the belt loop folder is like. And I'm going to take it off of my machine just to show you what I'm talking about. And put this under the table camera, because this is an important concept. I have tried some fabrics where I thought they might go through the belt loop folder, but they were just too lofty and thick. You never get polar fleece through. A sweatshirt fleece, unless it was super thin, I don't think it would go through very well. But let me switch over to that camera so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's my belt loop folder. Here is the mouth of it. So what you're doing is you've got to make sure that your fabric isn't so thick that it's going to really get resistant to going through the mouth of that and not feed smoothly. It's got to be lightweight enough. Quilting weight cotton's super easy to use. I think you would be able to use a canvas as well, but again, you would have to test it. Denim, yes. But again, everything you have to test. I never say never to anything, but you do have to check to see. I know years ago I had an Irish linen that was really heavy. It was beautiful. But I tried to get it through the belt loop folder and it was just super thick. Now, and what I did with that one was it was able to go through, but I had to take off about maybe a 1/16 of an inch on the width to compensate for the thickness of the fabric. So if it doesn't go through on the normal cutting width, maybe trim off a tiny little bit along the long edge, like a 1/16 of an inch, try it again. If it still is resistant and it's not flowing freely through the belt loop folder, maybe take off a little bit more and try it again. But if it still doesn't go through, it may be too thick. Something like velour, I think, unless a corduroy was very lightweight, I don't think a lot of corduroys would go through. like the pinwheel, the very fine wheel corduroys, those might. But again, everything is always testing to make sure. But I had somebody ask me a question about using 2 Lux fleece layers together and using a blanket stitch on her serger, and she wanted to know if it would work, and I really didn't know whether it would or not, but I said definitely test it. But I had my doubts. Well, guess what, it did. So it's always worth testing, and she was so excited that it went through, and I was so happy that she followed up with me and said I tested it, and guess what, it worked. So I said check the presser foot pressure, check your stitch length, all of those different things. And I said, play around with your settings. Don't be afraid to test them, because if you have everything on the default setting, sometimes things won't work as easily, but then you make some adjustments on either tension, stitch length, presser foot pressure, things like that, and it does work. So it is worth doing that. But Kathy, to answer your question, absolutely. I have used quilting weight cottons on tote bags with the grosgrain ribbon in between, and what happens is you feed that through, and if you go through my tip clips, you'll find one on that where you feed it through, and the belt loop folder folds, the fabric folds right around the grosgrain ribbon and holds it in place. It won't move. Your handles will never stretch. And another nice thing is if you use the widest belt loop folder and you wanted to do some trim, kind of along the same idea as what I showed today, where you want to incorporate a couple of different fabrics in that, you could use the wide one, use the grosgrain ribbon on that, then use the real narrow one, the 3/8 of an inch finished with, and run off a contrasting fabric with that. And then you can stitch them wrong sides together. You wouldn't have your decorative thread in the chain looper. You would just use your Serger cone thread. You could put those together, stitch them together, and it makes a beautiful trim. I don't have one to show you right now, but it's really, really pretty. I can post some pictures of one as soon as I get a chance to, so that you can see what I'm talking about. Or if you have a question, shoot me an email and I will get back to you. But with the weaving, it's just a really pretty way to do it. And it gives you a chance to use your belt loop folder in a different way. If some of you have looked at my jewelry class, that was done years ago on a baby lock, but it was with the belt loop folder. And so that's another thing that you can do kind of for fun jewelry. It's kind of got that boho vibe to it. And that's a pretty way to do it. Also for trims. So let me just go back to that project, and I'll show you how I used it as a divider between the different panels of fabric. And that was with using 2 different 12-weight threads in the chain looper. So let me move this out of the way, and we'll go back to that one too. See if this, I'm so excited. Okay, so here I ran it off. There is your thread fusion with the 2 12-weight threads, chain looper thread showing. This is a triple cover stitch. I did have my center needle in on this particular stitching, but it's a really nice way to make trims that are customized to your project. If you're doing home deck items, or if you wanted to use something kind of to do a surface design and swirl it around, that would be a time that I would say cut your fabric strips on the bias, and then you can kind of curve them around into the design that you want. What I would do is on my base fabric, I would draw out the lines that I wanted to follow with that. Then put my belt loop folder strips on it, press it down, and then stitch it in place. But you can use it for all different things, and guess what? You can use it for belt loops also. But I've used it for trims, for weaving. It's like creating a whole new fabric. It's just so pretty. You see it, like, even if you wanted to do placemats or something like that, maybe a set of 2 or 4, that might be manageable um, time wise. I like to work also in um, shorter strips. There are 2 of these woven panels on this project, but I wove them one at a time only because I found it easier to manage the shorter strips of the belt loop folder um, instead of big long ones and trying to get them through and manage them that way. The shorter ones I found much easier to work with. So, are there any questions at all from anyone? Anything that you want to know? Um, oh, I was going to give you the part number for this extra table that I was talking about, so that you can have 2 of those. Let me go back to show you again on that. This is the table that I always keep this accessory holder on. I took my belt loop folder off here right now, so this is loose. I'm going to move it over. But I do have this like this, and then I have my regular one right here. So I can give you the part number on that. Let me grab my iPad because I know I've got it written down on that. I have had so many people ask me that I keep that number. It's a part number, and believe it or not, it's pretty inexpensive. I think usually they're under $20. I don't know whether that price is still holding or not, but let me give you the part number for that if you're interested. Okay, so for the extra cover hem table, let me go back to me a second. For the extra cover hem table insert, I guess that's what they call it, a cover stitch insert, the part number is 03446547000. So I'll repeat that again. It's 03446547000. So if you wanted to ask your dealer to order that for you, they could definitely get these. And it's, it's just a time saver to have that. It just makes it quick and easy. And as I said, I left my belt loop folder on it because when I was going back and forth on doing this project, there were certain parts that I couldn't use the belt loop folder on until I got to it, but I still needed to do some cover stitching, so I just switched them back and forth. Quick, easy, and very efficient use of time too. So was there anyone else? Teresa, you said, do I sell the belt loop folders? No, that is a Bernina project or product, and you can ask your dealer to order those. I do not sell any of those at all. And Teresa, you said you just hung up with your dealer. It's still telling me they're not available yet. If don't do it in the chat, but if you could shoot me an email, gail@gailpatrice.com, tell me who the dealer is, and I'll double check on that with Bernina to find out. Maybe they are on back order because they have been very popular and there's been a big demand for them. But I will double check that for you, and then we can have, if they are available, then we can contact the dealer, or I can have somebody at Bernina contact the dealer and tell them, yes, they are available. Letty said, isn't it a regular item with, it isn't a regular item with the Serger. You're correct. It's an accessory. It's an add-on. The things that come with the Serger with the 890 particularly, or any other brand, your belt loop folders are not going to be included in the price of that unless somebody is doing some huge big bundle deal. But it is an add-on accessory. There is a different charge or a separate charge for that. So, but I will check on the availability of those, and maybe I am mistaken. Liz says she's pretty sure Hinkletown in Pennsylvania has them. Okay, so that's one possibility. But let me find out what's going on with that whole thing, because I want you to have the right information, and I want your dealer to have the correct information too. They may be asking for an incorrect item too, so we'll just check on that. I'm sure it's just an innocent error on someone's part, but unless they are back ordered, so we'll double check on that. But again, the sale starts tomorrow, 10% off site-wise on gailpatrice.com, and I only have those 4 red thread fusions. And so if you do want one, just shoot me an email, and it's just first come, first serve. When they're gone, they're gone, because I thought they were so cute, and I called the manufacturer and said, can you get more of that red base material? And at this time, it's not available. So this was just like a fun surprise thing. If they became available in a blue color, let me know if that would be of interest to anyone, because the manufacturer did say there was a possibility that they could get them in kind of a bright blue, like a, not, maybe like a royal blue, I guess. But that was a little bit up in the air. So if you want to shoot me an email and say, yes, I'd be interested in having that. But again, the standard black one is perfectly fine. It works great. There's no difference in the way they function. It's just a pretty color. That's all. So if there aren't any other questions, I guess we will sign off. And I'm so excited everything on my computer worked correctly. So yay for that. I thought I was going to have to call this off about 15 minutes ahead of time and go back to the drawing board and figure out what happened. But I hope everybody has a fun Valentine's Day, and that tell somebody you love them. And this is my thank you, and sending my love to all of you, and thank you for patronizing me. But take advantage of that 10% off, because it's only for the 3 days, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody. If you have any questions that I haven't answered or that you think of after this, just shoot me an email, gail@gailpatrice.com, and I will get back to you super quick. And stay safe if you're anywhere in the path of those upcoming storms. We're supposed to have a few ourselves in Connecticut. Just stay safe. I'm not going to be going out on Thursday morning, simply because it's supposed to be sort of icy and yucky out, and I have a feeling that kids will be home from school that day too. But happy Valentine's, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks very much.